What is a dreaming position, Don Juan? Any new position to which the assemblage point has been displaced during sleep. How do we fixate the assemblage point on a dreaming position? By sustaining the view of any item in your dreams, or by changing your dreams at will. Through your dreaming practices, you're really exercising your capacity to be cohesive. That is to say, you're exercising your capacity to maintain a new energy shape by holding the assemblage point fixed on the position of any particular dream you're having. Do I really maintain a new energy shape? Not exactly, and not because you can't, but only because you're shifting the assemblage point instead of moving it. Shifts of the assemblage point give rise to minute changes, which are practically unnoticeable. The challenge of shifts is that they are so small and so numerous that to maintain cohesiveness in all of them is a triumph. How do we know we're maintaining cohesion? We know it by the clarity of our perception. The clearer the view of our dreams, the greater our cohesion. Don Juan, with extreme patience, pointed out that reason is only a byproduct of the habitual position of the assemblage point. Therefore, knowing what is going on, being of sound mind, having our feet on the ground, sources of great pride to us, and assumed to be a natural consequence of our worth, are merely the result of the fixation of the assemblage point on its habitual place. The more rigid and stationary it is, the greater our confidence in ourselves, the greater our feeling of knowing the world, of being able to predict. He added that what dreaming does is give us the fluidity to enter into other worlds by destroying our sense of knowing this world. He called dreaming a journey of unthinkable dimensions, a journey that, after making us perceive everything we can humanly perceive, makes the assemblage point jump outside the human domain and perceive the inconceivable. But new worlds exist. They are wrapped one around the other like the skins of an onion. The world we exist in is but one of those skins. Would others perceive that same world? If they had uniformity and cohesion, they would. Uniformity is to hold in unison the same position of the assemblage point. The old sorcerers called the entire act of acquiring uniformity and cohesion outside the normal world stalking perception. The art of stalking, he continued, as I've already said, deals with the fixation of the assemblage point. The old sorcerers discovered through practice that, important as it is to displace the assemblage point, it's even more important to make it stay fixed on its new position, wherever that new position might be. He explained that if the assemblage point doesn't become stationary, there's no way that we can perceive coherently. We would experience then a kaleidoscope of disassociated images. This is the reason the old sorcerers put as much emphasis on dreaming as they did on stalking. Don Juan expressed wonder at what he called the greatest accomplishment of our human upbringing, to lock our assemblage point on its habitual position. For once it's immobilized there, our perception can be coached and guided to interpret what we perceive. In other words, we can then be guided to perceive more in terms of our system than in terms of our senses. He assured me that human perception is universally homogeneous because the assemblage points of the whole human race are fixed on the same spot. He went on to say that sorcerers prove all this to themselves when they see that at the moment the assemblage point is displaced beyond a certain threshold and new universal filaments of energy begin to be perceived, there is no sense to what we perceive. The immediate cause is that new sensory data has rendered our system inoperative. It can no longer be used to interpret what we are perceiving. Perceiving without our system is, of course, chaotic, Don Juan continued. But strangely enough, when we think we have truly lost our bearings, our old system rallies, it comes to our rescue, and transforms our new incomprehensible perception into a thoroughly comprehensible new world. Your perception was chaotic for a while. Everything came to you at once, and your system for interpreting the world didn't function. Then the chaos cleared up, and there you were, in front of a new world. The old sorcerers preferred the shifts of the assemblage points, so they were always on more or less known, predictable ground. We prefer the movements of the assemblage point. The old sorcerers were after the human unknown. We are after the non-human unknown. I haven't gotten to that yet, have I? No, you're only beginning. And at the beginning, everyone has to go through the old sorcerer's steps. After all, they were the ones who invented dreaming. At what point will I then begin to learn the new sorcerer's brand of dreaming? You have enormous ground yet to cover. Years from now, perhaps,